Ladies and gentlemen, with this story, they had this labeled as this woman originally being from Oklahoma, but she was living in Michigan. So I don't really know why the significance of bringing up that she was originally from Oklahoma even matters. But nonetheless, with this story, it's going to have a few details that are probably going to bother you to the core. So, with my disclaimer, I must let you know that some of you guys might find this content controversial or offensive, but I'm getting my information from reliable sources. My commentary is going to be about the facts. The point of this is to try to make sure that we can educate people so that this type of thing doesn't happen again. Viewer discretion is advised, and that is your official disclaimer. Now, let me go ahead and get this funny looking woman back up on the screen. Let me see if I can back this on up like a U-Haul truck. Why this woman looks like a sad roasted marshmallow is just beyond me. Funny looking in the face. Let me tell y'all what she did. She's 43 years old. This woman looked like she probably could have tacked on another 20 years to that in the face. A 43-year-old Michigan mother is behind bars for allegedly starving and torturing her juvenile son to death. And y'all are not going to believe what this woman said when she stood in front of the judge. 43 years old, and she starved her child to death. This is a very special circumstance with how this came about. So let me give you some more details. This dummy that y'all see on my screen right there, her name is Shonda Margaret Vander Ark. Vander Ark, A-R-K, like Noah, like Noah's Ark, was taken into custody last week and charged with 1 count each of open murder and first-degree child abuse and the death of 15-year-old Timothy Ferguson. I'm getting this information from lawandcrime.com, so if y'all are out there listening, thank you very much for the article. I know some of y'all might be wondering, how do you starve a 15-year-old? I want to see how many people y'all are going to catch this before I even say it. At age 15, you're usually able to take care of yourself. You're usually able to get up and get yourself something to eat, maybe even go work a job, take care of most of your stuff that you need to do on a day-to-day basis. I want to see if anybody's going to catch that. 15 years old, think about it. Special needs. She took advantage, thank you, disabled. She took advantage of a special needs child. He's disabled. And starved him to death. Children with special needs are called special for a reason because they need us for each and everything that they get. Not in all cases, but so many of them completely depend on us as parents to take care of them and take care of their daily needs. And if you neglect that responsibility, I just think you're an absolutely terrible person. According to a press release from the Norton Shores Police Department, officers on July the 6th, approximately 6:37 a.m., responded to an emergency call about a suspicious death at a home located on the 4000 block of Marshall Road. Upon arriving at the scene, first responders discovered the body of a teenage male, later identified as 15-year-old Ferguson. The boy was pronounced dead on the scene. The victim appeared to be extremely, mark my words on this, extremely malnourished. And there was evidence of abuse, so he was probably hit and beat up. Vander Ark this woman appeared Friday for an arraignment where prosecutors reportedly said that Timothy's death was a direct result of corporal punishment. She beat, man, if that ain't some cowardly shit. This woman, and guys, it's about to get just a little bit worse. She beat up a special needs child, referring to it as discipline. A disabled special needs child can't speak for himself nor defend themselves. His death was a direct result of corporal punishment at the hands of his mother. I would love to hear from her what she claimed that she needed to discipline him for. What did he do wrong? Be alive, maybe? Muskegon County Assistant Prosecutor DJ Hilson reportedly told Grand Rapids NBC affiliate Wood TV that Timothy's death was the most disturbing case he had seen in his career. He'd been at the job over 20 years. The things that walk through this door on a day-to-day, day in and day out basis are horrific and traumatic. But I can safely say that within my career, this is probably one of the most sadistic and tragic events that I've ever seen and witnessed and been a part of. Now, Matt Roberts, chief trial attorney for the Muskegon County Prosecutor's Office, reportedly provided details during Friday's proceeding. Y'all got to catch this. Y'all got to catch this. Roberts reportedly said that this alleged mother, Vander Ark, in that house would punish Timothy by withholding food for long periods of time. Long periods of time. Only feeding him hot sauce soaked bread. And pouring hot sauce directly down his throat and forcing him to take long ice baths. So apparently she didn't starve him too much. She wasn't that much of a monster, right? She fed him. She did feed him. She fed him bread that was soaked in hot sauce. So let me ask you guys in the chat. Can you consider this to be a starving if she actually fed the child, even though it was probably, like they said, sadistic to feed a child? Like, how do you even think to do that? Why would you do that? I've heard of some really weird things. You take bread and soak it in hot sauce. So you would burn the absolute dog shit out of his mouth, his face, his throat, his stomach, and his insides. And the bread would nourish him just enough to a point that it won't kill him. He will survive because it's technically giving him some type of nourishment to a certain extent. Almost so that she can prolong the torture. So here's the cold part about it, guys. No pun intended. You know what actually caused the boy's death? It wasn't shoving hot sauce and hot sauce soaked bread down his throat. That wasn't even what killed him. Y'all been watching the channel long enough. What do y'all think actually killed him? What is the one thing that I said too many of our stories have in common? What's that thing in the house that a lot of our stories have in common? Anybody want to take a guess in the chat? Bathtub. Bathtub. Another bathtub story. She forced him to take long ice baths. So what do you think killed him? It was a combination of malnourishment and hypothermia, and that is according to the county medical examiner who performed an autopsy of Timothy's remains and determined that the boy's cause of death was a combination of malnourishment and hypothermia. Let me paint a picture. If you were to turn the cold water on in a bathtub, let it run and fill up. That temperature, even for somebody who's sensitive, might not cause their death. That might not cause it because it might not be cold enough. Take a bag of ice. Like y'all can go to the store, go in and like to the convenience store or to a gas station and go buy a bag of ice. Take one of those bags of ice and put it in that water, and what's going to happen at room temperature? That cold water will usually knock out most of that ice pretty quick. I'd say within the first 15 minutes. Why am I bringing that up? The reason why I'm bringing that up is because I'm assuming that she probably did not have that much ice stored. Like, unless she had one of those big, huge economy ice chests, like the ones you find in the what do you call it? Fast food restaurants. Like one of those big old huge ice makers. I'm sure she didn't have one of those. So I'm assuming she probably had bags of ice, and I'm assuming that she probably went to go buy bags of ice, and I'm assuming that she probably went and bought multiple bags of ice to make sure that that water would stay freezing cold, and it would stay freezing cold long enough to cause this boy's death. That is intentional. That is sadistic. That's murder. This alleged mother, I'm ad-libbing a little bit here, reportedly forced Timothy into an ice bath the day before his death. Hilson reportedly told the local news station that Timothy lived with some sort of incapacity or mental incapacity and noted that the boy was homeschooled. Vander Ark told Muskegon County Judge Maria Lattis Hoops that she was employed as a law clerk at the Newaygo County Circuit Court. A law clerk. She also stated that she had graduated from law school and passed the bar exam, though had not yet obtained her license to practice law because her husband reportedly suffered a stroke. Her husband suffered a stroke. Where was he? Was he unable to make a phone call, see something, say something? He knew this was going on? Was he incapacitated also? The judge ordered Vander Ark to be held without bail, and I agree with that. No bail. Vander Ark's attorney, Muskegon County Chief Public Defender Fred Johnson. Why does she even need a public defender? Can't she just represent herself? If she graduated law school and passed the bar exam, couldn't she just represent herself? Is she not bright enough to... Anyway. The public defender told WOOD TV that he disagreed with the ruling despite the nature of the allegations against his client. The judge's ruling was probably correct under the law. It just wasn't the one that I think was appropriate to this young lady, Johnson reportedly told the station. She has no criminal history. She has no place else to go. She has family here in the community. She's not a threat to run. So he says she's not a flight risk. She's not a threat to hurt anyone. Even given the allegations, they're all directed towards a specific group of people. All those people are now protected. This dude is going all in. Really? She won't hurt anybody else except for her own child that she murdered in a sadistic way. Most people don't have a criminal history until they do some criminalistic shit, right? Last time I checked, most people don't have a criminal history until they do something that is criminalistic, until they commit a crime. This is why they brought up Oklahoma. She's originally a Oklahoma resident, a former Oklahoma resident. An investigation done by the Oklahoma Child Protective Services between 2009 and 2012 also resulted in a recommendation to terminate Vander Ark's parental rights. That television station reported while questioning why the alleged victim was even under the defendant's care to begin with. So they recommended that she shouldn't have custody. Can we get a hashtag babies for benefits in the chat? Because I can almost guarantee you that's the only reason that she kept this child, had this child, and kept this child all this time was to collect benefits off of this kid. I can almost guarantee you that. KFOR further noted that Vander Ark agreed to relinquish custody in 2012 in order to avoid a permanent severing of parental rights. Vander Ark is scheduled to appear in court for a probable cause conference on July the 21st, which is in, 9 days? Michigan court records show. She wasn't even supposed to have this kid, so she was allowed to leave Oklahoma with this kid, move to another state, keep the kid, and kill the kid. Flat out ridiculous. And there's that law school thing right there. Let me give you guys the fair usage. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Yeah, guys, I think the system definitely failed here. I don't know how she was able to keep this kid, move states, and continue this torture and abuse. That's to have that much time pass from 2009 to 2012, and here we are in 2022, and this 15-year-old child is dead.
Following a disturbing story with an Oklahoma connection tonight out of Michigan.
A former Oklahoma County resident is now facing child abuse and murder charges in the death of her 15-year-old son, Timothy. Shanda Vander Ark arraigned today in a Michigan County court, ordered to be held without bond. News 4's Ashley Moss joins us now with details. Ashley.
That's right. This really is a bizarre case, and it begins right here in Oklahoma County with a divorce back in 2010. Full custody granted to the father, but that's where things get confusing. The lawyer who represented the dad back then telling me by phone today this mother never should have had her son Timothy.
I'm going to now read you the charge, Ms. Vander Ark.
The distraught woman arraigned by Zoom in Michigan early Friday afternoon on horrific allegations, charges of murder and child abuse.
Being allegedly committed the offense of homicide, open murder. In the statutory.
Police responding to a call at this house Wednesday morning about a suspicious death, finding 15-year-old Timothy Ferguson dead, saying in a release that he appeared to be extremely malnourished and there was evidence of abuse. Prosecutors heard in court today saying Shanda Vander Ark denied her son Timothy basic medical needs, also punishing him through the denial of food, feeding the child nothing but bread or bread soaked in hot sauce, and placing the child in an ice bath. Prosecutors believe he suffered from hypothermia the day before he died.
She should not have had this child in her care to begin with.
Prosecutors also saying this was a tragedy that could have and should have been prevented due to records showing a 3-year investigation in Oklahoma.
We received them yesterday from the state of Oklahoma.
From 2009 to 2012, prosecutors saying she avoided having her parental rights terminated by agreeing to give up custody of her children and leaving the house.
And that agreement was obviously violated by taking custody of the children.
The judge in the case, considering the charges, denying bond.
Both warrant bond be denied.
2 more hearings in this case are scheduled in the next 3 weeks. We reached out to Timothy's father by phone earlier this evening, but were unable to reach him. But we do plan to follow this case, and we will keep you updated. By the way, Timothy would have turned 16 this August.
We are following a disturbing story with an Oklahoma connection tonight out of Michigan.
A former Oklahoma County.
Some disturbing details coming to light about Shanda Vander Ark, A mom in Norton Shores now charged with murder in her teen son's death.
News 8's Byron Tollefson is live at the Muskegon County Courthouse with why prosecutors issued murder charges. Byron?
The prosecutor just told us that 15-year-old Timothy Ferguson had special needs. He died from malnutrition and hypothermia. Shanda Vander Ark made her first court appearance this afternoon on murder and child abuse charges. Prosecutors said that she apparently punished her son by not feeding him or giving him only bread with hot sauce on it. She also had him sit in ice baths, likely explaining the hypothermia. Prosecutor DJ Hilson tells us it's hard to describe these horrific allegations.
I've been at this job for over 20 years, and the things that walk through this door on a day in and day out basis are horrific and traumatic.
Off the top at 11, a horrific accusation of child abuse out of Muskegon County. A mother...
These are horrific.
Disturbing allegations.
In the denial of food to the child, feeding the child nothing but bread and bread soaked in hot sauce, pouring hot sauce down the child's throat, and placing the child in an ice bath, which we believe will be the explanation ultimately for why the child had suffered hypothermia, and that most notably happened the day before the child passed away.
The judge ultimately denied her bond, leaving Vander Ark in a Muskegon County jail tonight.
This court has grave concerns, not only about the safety and well-being of the community, but also regarding the ability of the defendant to flee.
The county public defender, Fred Johnson, says that while these allegations are horrific, she should have been released.
She has no criminal history. She has no place else to go. She has family here in the community. She's not a threat. She's not a threat to hurt anyone else.
Vander Ark graduated from WMU Cooley Law School last year and was working as a clerk in Newaygo County. Johnson actually met her 2 years ago when she was a law student.
The fact that I actually know her and would never have thought this of her, that added to the surprise.
It's unclear why Timothy was even in his mother's care. Prosecutors say that a decade ago, Oklahoma Child Protective Services recommended terminating her parental rights. In 2012, she agreed to leave the home and not have custody of her children. Prosecutors believe that Timothy came to the Muskegon area to be with his mother in May of 2021.
I can't imagine any parent treating a child like that, let alone doing it over a period of time that ultimately, allegedly, caused this young man's death. So yeah, I mean, as a parent, I can't even put into words how I feel about another parent treating a child like that.
Hilson says a 7-year-old child also lived in the Norton Shores home. He is now in the custody of the Department of Health and Human Services. That department tells News 8 tonight that generally, if a court in another state has issued final orders and closed its case, Michigan would have no knowledge of a parent moving and having a child in his or her custody. I called Timothy's biological father today. He did not want to comment. She is due back in court in about 3 weeks, but the public defender tells me there may be a mental health evaluation before that, which could delay the process.
So they're saying that the father or the husband didn't want to comment. I think what they should do is they should probably arrest his ass also. Because he knew something, he saw something and didn't say anything, didn't stop this, didn't help his son, and just let this happen. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about this. They didn't actually do a GoFundMe from what I understand, but let me show you this. These people are getting more and more slick every single day. Let me show y'all something real quick before we close out. I want y'all to take a look at this. This is a PayPal account campaign that was set up. So I'm going to assume that this is similar like to GoFundMe. But let me read this to y'all. It says, my sister and her husband have lost their 15-year-old son, Timothy, to a very sudden tragic circumstance. Due to the nature of the situation with ongoing criminal investigations, I cannot disclose information at this time. They are in a complete state of shock and in wavering stages of grief and mourning. They will need to be able to get him transported from Michigan to Charlotte, South Carolina, to be able to rest next to his grandmother. I'm asking for donations on behalf to help with travel and funeral expenses. Any help would be greatly appreciated. I'm sorry I can't talk. Please share this link and thank you for anything that you could do to help in this horrific time. So this is Krish Jacobson, sounds like the sister. And they're putting out basically kind of like a similar form of GoFundMe, and they're putting out their PayPal saying donate to us. But the husband, in my opinion, is just as liable as the mother for doing what she did. And that same family is asking for y'all to send them money. Am I wrong for questioning that? Do y'all see what I'm talking about? It's one thing to put up a GoFundMe, but it's another thing to put up funding sources to say, pay me on behalf of a murder that happened, of a dead child. And I think it makes it even worse when it's the family side that's asking for that money, asking for that funding. So the family side killed the kid and then going to ask for PayPal? Really? And it's the sister that's asking for the money? She know her sister is up Schitt's Creek without an arc. If y'all donate her all that money, knowing that she's not responsible for having to bury this 15-year-old kid that clearly nobody gave a shit about, what do you think she's going to do with any donations that come in to her PayPal talking about she needs to bury this child? Really? Really? I don't think so. But I hope people are just wising up and being careful, being ever so careful when these deaths are occurring and we're just funding these people. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. I think she deserves life in prison. I also think that for the husband seeing something and not saying anything and maybe even participating, I say give him 50 years in prison. He doesn't want to talk about what happened. Lock his ass up too. To that 15-year-old boy, let me put some respect on his name. 15-year-old Timothy Ferguson. Don't even have a picture to pay tribute to him, but we'll put a prayer hands up in the chat and say RIP to that lost soul. That 15-year-old Timothy Ferguson, RIP. But like I said, life in prison, even capital punishment, I wouldn't even be against that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section about this story. Let me know what you think. Thank you.